It was December 14th, 2025. As the clock struck 3:30 p.m. that Sunday, the Los Angeles Police Department responded to a medical aid request. When the paramedics arrived, 78-year-old Hollywood actor-director Rob Reiner and his 70-year-old photographer-producer wife Michele Reiner were found dead in their mansion in the affluent West Los Angeles neighborhood of Brentwood. Their bodies had stab wounds. A person close to the family revealed that Romy Reiner, the couple's daughter, found her father's body and the gruesome scene of his death on Sunday after she was alerted by a massage therapist. The therapist had been unable to reach the couple before a scheduled appointment at their Los Angeles home. Romy fled the house in anguish upon encountering her father's body inside the house. Her roommate waiting outside called 911. The couple was scheduled to have dinner with Barack and Michelle Obama and others in just a few hours. But that was not to be. The double murder has become one of the most shocking celebrity homicide cases in the history of Los Angeles. Nick Reiner, the couple's 32-year-old son, has been arrested. He is accused of fatally stabbing his parents in the early morning hours of Sunday in the couple's mansion and then fleeing the scene. Nick has been charged with the murder of his parents. Here's what the district attorney said before Nick was charged.
Today I'm here to announce that our office will be filing charges against Nick Reiner, who is accused of killing his parents, actor-director Rob Reiner, and photographer-producer Michele Reiner. These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with the special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. No decision at this point has been made with respect to the death penalty.
Security footage showed Nick shopping at a gas station in Los Angeles before his arrest on the night of the murders near a downtown Los Angeles park.
So specifically, he was arrested in a public area, in the Exposition Park area near the University of Southern California campus. He was approached by the officers and he was arrested without incident. There were no indications that he was going to resist or anything like that. He didn't flee or anything like that. He was taken into custody without issue, and he was transported to our police headquarters facility.
Bearded, wearing eyeglasses, and garbed in a blue protective vest, Nick made his first court appearance on 17th December, 3 days after his arrest. But the arraignment was postponed for 3 weeks and he did not enter a plea. An arraignment is a formal court hearing where a judge reads the criminal charges against a defendant who then enters a plea, which is most commonly not guilty. Nick has been ordered to return to Los Angeles County Superior Court for a continuation of his arraignment on 7th January. No explanation was given in court for the delay in hearing, which was requested by the defense.
This is a devastating tragedy that has befallen the Reiner family. We all recognize that. Our hearts go out to the entire Reiner family. There are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case. These need to be thoroughly but very carefully dealt with and examined and looked at and analyzed.
So what could have been the possible motive or trigger for the murders? In this 2015 podcast, Nick, sitting alongside his father Rob, can be heard talking about his struggles with drug addiction. Well, I think I'm lucky in the sense that I have parents that care about me. And because of that, when I would go out and do, things like drugs and stuff like that, I'd feel a tremendous amount of guilt. Because I'd think, they're thinking about me right now. They want me to do good. And most people don't, not most people, but some people don't have parents that are, have any interest in them. Nick told People magazine in a 2016 interview that he first went into rehab for drug abuse at the age of 15. He eventually had at least 17 stays in facilities. Those experiences inspired the movie Being Charlie, that was co-written by Nick and Rob and directed by Rob. Local media reported that Nick had been spotted arguing with his parents on Saturday night at a holiday party hosted by comedian Conan O'Brien. The Times reported that Nick had behaved erratically that evening and had alarmed guests with his behavior, and Rob Reiner had rebuked his son, telling him that his behavior was inappropriate for a guest in someone else's home. Months earlier, Rob Reiner had been photographed with his wife and 3 children at the September 9 Los Angeles premiere of Reiner's last film, Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. Pictures showed Nick with a shaved head and a beard, the only person not smiling. On the looks of it, these instances put Nick's mental health under the scanner. But the prosecutors have not alleged any motive for the killings yet. Rob Reiner's death has left his fans heartbroken.
It's sad to see him go so suddenly. I feel bad for all of his family, his supporters, his friends. He's a good message. I believe everyone's a message.
He was brilliant. He was one of a kind. He was one of a kind. There's no one better going to be Rob Reiner and Michele. There's no one. There's no one out there.
Born in 1947, Rob rose from the shadow of his father, comedy icon Carl Reiner, to become a filmmaking force. As an actor, Reiner was best remembered for his role on the 1970s CBS television comedy hit All in the Family. He went on to have a prolific Hollywood career as a director, starting with This Is Spinal Tap, a 1984 mockumentary that follows the trials and tribulations of a fictional hard rock band on tour. The satiric film became a cult classic known for its mostly improvised script, with Reiner playing the faux documentary filmmaker Marty DeBurgi.
Well, it certainly surpassed what we had when it first came out, which people had no idea what the hell it was. People thought, why would you make a movie about a band that nobody's ever heard of and one that's so bad? So it has grown over the years, and it's now part of the National Film Registry in America and all that. So, we never could have expected it to be what it had turned out to be.
Reiner directed nearly 24 films in all. They included classics such as Stand By Me, a 1986 coming-of-age drama about 4 boys who set out to find the body of a missing youth, as well as 1989's When Harry Met Sally, a romantic masterpiece starring Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan that mirrored his own life. Divorced from Penny Marshall in 1981, he met photographer and producer Michelle Singer on set. Their spark inspired the film's happy ending, where Harry and Sally unite at New Year's. They married that year and raised 3 children, Nick, Jade, and Ben. Versatile across a range of genres, Reiner's directorial credits also included the 1987 fairy tale adventure The Princess Bride, the 1990 psychological thriller Misery, an adaptation of a Stephen King novel starring Kathy Bates and James Caan, and the 1992 military courtroom drama A Few Good Men starring Jack Nicholson, Tom Cruise, and Demi Moore.
I guess I'd say, he was sort of really unique in that he was able to excel in so many different genres of cinema, while still retaining this really deep humanity throughout. And I guess from having met Rob Reiner, the thing that really sticks with me is that deep humanity. He was incredibly funny at all times, and was incredibly serious about his politics, but it was also as serious about people. He just didn't seem to take himself that seriously, and was always ready with a quip to tear himself down, or to tear any sort of bloviating politician he felt needed taking down.
Politically vocal, Reiner championed democratic causes. He produced documentaries like The American President and advocated for progressive films through Castle Rock Entertainment, which he co-founded. In comments that have spurred condemnation from both sides of the political aisle, US President Donald Trump linked Rob Reiner's death to what he calls Trump derangement syndrome, a term he often uses to describe his critics.
Mr. President, a number of Republicans have denounced your statement on Truth Social after the murder of Rob Reiner. Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. You know, it was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all, in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country.
That jarring note aside, the Reiner murders have stunned an industry Reiner shaped. Actors Ben Stiller, Elijah Wood, John Cusack, and Corey Feldman were among those taking to social media to pay tribute to Reiner. What a huge loss! Rob Reiner was one of my favorite directors. He made some of the most formative movies for my generation, Stiller wrote on X. Actor and comedian Eric Idle said he had spoken to Reiner the night before his death. I always enjoyed his company. I shall miss him. A clever, talented and very thoughtful man. So awful, Idle wrote on X. Actor Mira Sorvino, who co-starred with Reiner in 2020 miniseries Hollywood, said, I am in absolute shock. Rob Reiner was a legend and a kind, brilliant man, a wonderful actor to work opposite on Hollywood, an iconic director. His wife Michele was a lovely, generous person. I wish I had been able to get to know her better. The world has lost two tremendous humans. Tributes from his fans in Hollywood highlight the warmth that Rob Reiner exuded. Rob was an actor-director who made audiences laugh, cry, and believe in redemption. Along the rocky shores of South Africa, something tragic has been happening quietly over the past 2 decades. Tens of thousands of African penguins have died, not because of oil spills or storms, but because they simply ran out of food. Scientists now estimate that more than 60,000 African penguins starved to death after sardine fish numbers collapsed along the South African coast. To understand how this happened, we need to take a look at penguins as a species. What makes African penguins different and how changes in the ocean pushed them to the brink. When most people think of penguins, they imagine icy landscapes in Antarctica. And it is true that many penguin species live in cold southern waters. Penguins are found almost entirely in the southern hemisphere across Antarctica, South America, Southern Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. A few species even live close to the equator, like the Galapagos penguin. Despite popular belief, penguins are not polar animals by default. They are seabirds that depend on cold ocean currents, not snow. African penguins are especially unusual. They are the only penguin species that breeds on the African continent. Instead of ice and glaciers, they live on sandy beaches, rocky islands, and warm coastlines. They nest in burrows or under bushes to escape the heat. Another distinctive feature is their loud braying call, which has earned them the name jackass penguins. They are also easily recognized by the black stripe across their chest and the pink patches above their eyes, which help regulate body temperature. Like all penguins, African penguins are expert swimmers. They use their flippers to fly through the water and rely almost entirely on small schooling fish for food. Sardines and anchovies are their only diet. This close dependence on a single food source makes them especially vulnerable when ocean conditions change. Every year, African penguins go through a critical phase of their lives known as molting. Molting is the process when they shed their old feathers and grow new ones. This process is essential because penguin feathers provide insulation and waterproofing. Without healthy feathers, penguins cannot survive in cold ocean water. But molting comes with a dangerous trade-off. For about 21 days, penguins cannot enter the ocean at all. Without feathers, they would lose body heat too quickly. During this time, they must remain on land and fast completely. To survive, they need to build up large fat reserves beforehand. Their bodies are adapted for this cycle. They eat well, store fat, fast during molt, and then recover quickly once they return to the sea. This delicate balance only works if food is plentiful before and after molting. If penguins cannot find enough fish in the weeks leading up to molt, they simply do not have the energy reserves to survive the fast. That is exactly where the problem began. Since the early 2000s, sardine numbers off the west coast of South Africa have collapsed. According to researchers, from 2004 onwards, the biomass of sardines fell to less than 25% of its historical maximum in almost every year. This meant that penguins were entering the molting season already undernourished. Scientists from South Africa's Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, along with researchers from the University of Exeter in the UK, closely studied what happened next. They focused on two of the most important African penguin breeding sites, Dawson Island and Robben Island. In the early 2000s, these islands supported around 25,000 breeding pairs on Dawson and about 9,000 on Robben, making them central to the survival of the species. Using data collected between 1995 and 2015, researchers tracked breeding pairs, molting adults, and survival rates. They also used capture mark recapture techniques to estimate how many adult penguins survived from one year to the next. When these figures were compared with fish availability, the link became clear. Adult survival, especially through the molting period, was strongly tied to how much prey was available. Between 2004 and 2011, researchers estimate that roughly 95% of the penguins that bred in 2004 at these two islands died within the next 8 years. Most of them likely starved during molt when they had no chance to compensate for a lack of food. In total, about 62,000 breeding African penguins were lost during this period. And this was not an isolated event. Similar declines were recorded across other colonies. Over the past 30 years, the global population of African penguins has fallen by nearly 80%. So why did sardines disappear? The answer lies in a combination of environmental change and human activity. Experts point to shifts in ocean temperature and salinity along the west and south coast of South Africa. These changes made sardine breeding less successful in areas that were once reliable breeding grounds. At the same time, breeding became more successful further south, away from traditional penguin feeding zones. While the environment was changing, fishing pressure remained high. Sardines are heavily targeted by commercial fisheries, particularly purse seine fishing, which involves surrounding entire schools of fish with massive nests. At one point in 2006, exploitation rates reached as high as 80%, even as sardine stocks were already declining. This double pressure, that is, fewer fish being born and more fish being caught, left penguins competing for scraps. By the time penguins reached their molting season, many simply did not have enough fat to survive 3 weeks without food. Their evolutionary strategy, which had worked for thousands of years, failed in a rapidly changing ocean. The consequences have been severe. In 2024, African penguins were officially classified as critically endangered. Today, fewer than 10,000 breeding pairs are believed to remain. Without intervention, scientists warn that the species could disappear from the wild within decades. There is, however, still a window for action. Researchers stress that restoring sardine biomass in key penguin feeding areas is essential for long-term survival. In response, South Africa has taken some important steps. Commercial purse seine fishing has been banned around the 6 largest penguin breeding colonies. The goal is to ensure that penguins have better access to food during the most vulnerable stages of the life cycle. Conservation efforts are also happening on land. Artificial nests are being built to protect chicks from heat and predators. Injured or starving adults and chicks are being rescued and hand-reared. These actions help individual birds, but experts agree they cannot solve the problem on their own. The African penguin crisis shows how closely climate change, overfishing, and wildlife conservation are connected. It is a reminder that when ecological balance is broken, entire ecosystems become fragile, and iconic species like the African penguin can disappear far faster than we imagine. That's all in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you next week with more raging issues. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Munmun Bhattacharya signing off. Take care and stay safe.